So we think about storytelling. I think the last several years have been a lot about certainly audiences and targeting and understanding segmentation strategies. And I think now that a lot of that learning and discussions have come out, we're going back to, okay, well, if you do that type of targeting, what are you going to say to these unique groups? And so now we're talking about what's the right messaging format, how do you tell interesting stories? So we had a lot of discussions on what are interesting new ad formats. Is it, what's the role of engagement ads in television? How do you do more precise micro-segmentation, story sequencing? I think all things that are definitely hot topics right now and that the market's trying to play with. And on the other side, listen, what the business of television is certainly dealing with is figuring out how to equal itself as a platform at scale, much like you see from Google and Facebook. Now again, there's differences in scale. In many ways, television today already drives more scale, but for marketers, they really want to figure out how can I buy against many audiences in one simple way. And so a lot of what we talked about is how is the business of television evolving to do that, and how are the various traditional competitors playing enough together to enable that. And I think that's a good hot topic as well.
So what are your thoughts about ad load, lowering ad load? There's been a lot of talk about it, how that works for the broadcasters. It's great for the consumers, but the revenue situation is unclear. What are your thoughts about ad loads and ad units?
Yeah, well, I think the key thing you said there is where we've got to focus, which is great for the consumer. And millions of consumers at this point have voted that they really like even ad-free. And so if the dichotomy from ad-free on one hand into a traditional broadcast model on the other, which is as much as 20% out of an hour of content is commercials, is the other extreme, I think that choice for consumers is pretty easy. And so I don't think there's any question that the broadcast community, the ecosystem of media companies understand that they're going to have to shorten formats, create new ad experiences, rethink how they make that exchange between content and advertising. But to your point, there's a lot of questions about what is that going to do to revenue. And I don't think that's fully solved. I don't think anyone that would tell you on the sales side that they have that question fully answered. But I think they realize they're going to have to experiment, and maybe there might be some short-term up and down pain, but I think there's also a reality that marketers are willing to potentially pay more for things when they have less clutter and they're more engaging. And so the challenge is, how do you measure that? How do you prove that? How do you teach procurement about that? And that was part of the discussion this morning on the panels, is you've got to bring procurement departments along, which makes sure it's not only about cheaper, it is actually about more effective. And these things are all right, and I think we're going to get there, but I think, as you point out, we're in for probably some years of some bumpiness as those revenue shifts kind of shake out.